Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
All right, so Saw. This is a franchise that, when it first came out, was not well received.
No, it was not. Well, the first movie was well received.
It was not as much as you would think.
Well, yeah, it came out when it was. I think I was like in middle school
Yeah,
when this
2004 is when it came out.
Yeah, I was in middle school when the first movie came out, and I don't think, like I from what I heard, it was very well received because of Carrie Yules and Danny Glover.
Yeah,
And
it was.
it was well performed. It was well shot, and of course the twist ending.
Yeah, it was well received by horror people. Mainstream critics did not like it.
Torture porn. There's so much not gore in this movie.
Yeah, this first one is surprisingly fairly. I mean, it's still a hard R, but it doesn't focus on the pain.
Like, not as much as you would think.
Right.
Definitely not as much as the sequels do.
Yeah. And I've told you this before, but I showed my dad Saw for the first time a couple
Yes.
months ago. And he, real gruesome horror isn't really his thing, but he's not really opposed to horror or gore. Like, we love Inglourious Bastards and The Warriors and The Expendables and Con Air and stuff. I mean, like, there's plenty of, real gory action movies we love. And he,
Put the bunny back in the box. Who doesn't love a good Nick Cage flick?
I'd say a lot. But I mean, Nick Cage, John Malkovich, Steve Buscemi, Dave Chappelle, got a little Danny Trejo.
Oh yeah, that movie had a lot of people.
Yeah, John Cusack.
I love their Sweet Home Alabama
That was
ending
great.
with the credits. It's like, it makes it feel like a sitcom, and it's not
Right.
like we just didn't see half the cast get
Exactly,
butchered
it's
or
great.
get killed.
Yeah,
Not
but
butchered. I'm still thinking of Saw.
but and I mean, when he was in college, he saw Halloween and Friday the 13th in theaters with friends when he was in college.
So lucky.
But he doesn't really flock to horror. When he was in college, those were the popular movies to see. But his only real deal breakers for like movies is he doesn't want to see graphic nudity, and he doesn't want to see kids get killed on screen. Those are kind of his lines he doesn't like to cross.
Okay.
And Saw didn't have
Either of those.
Yeah. But like, and I, went into it telling him, this probably isn't going to be your kind of movie, but I want to see your reactions. Because I wanted to, like, sort of have video clips of his reactions to various parts. And then his response was essentially, yeah, not really the kind of movie I would flock to, but I'm glad I saw it. And I get the phenomenon. Because that was the thing is, he knew very little about what Saw was. He knew sort of the
aura around it.
Yeah, but he didn't really even know much about the concept. He just knew it was big and it was gory. I'm sure he'd seen the Billy the Puppet, at Party City or stuff like that. But but yeah, he was not familiar with it, and so of course he didn't know the big twist.
Oh.
And but he likes Carrie Elwes and Danny Glover, because who doesn't?
They're definitely powerhouses in this movie.
I mean, Princess Bride and Lethal Weapon. I mean, those are kind of unhateable movies. Well, one thing I even told him is I was like, I can totally imagine. Tap is his name, right?
Yes. Detective Danny Glover's character.
I can totally
Tapp.
imagine this just being Murtaugh, like having gone off the deep end, because he plays this like detective who retired because he just.
Well, he didn't retire. He got forced.
Right.
He was forced off
Yeah,
after
well, I mean,
his partner died.
yeah,
and
the
we'll
former
get
detective.
to that.
I was like, I can imagine this just being like a Lethal Weapon sequel.
But he definitely gets unhinged.
Yeah. But and he said, he'd never seen I wouldn't necessarily call Saw a slasher franchise, but it's a sort of adjacent to that type of.
I would almost put it in the category of body horror.
In somewhat, yeah.
To a degree, it's there.
There's also
it's like a mix of like a slasher, thriller.
Yeah, I would say
horror.
there's a lot of like sort of cop thriller, but he had never seen
the sequels are wannabe cop thrillers.
Some of them work, and some don't. We'll definitely talk about that. Some of the cops are dicks.
But anyway, you gotta give Jigsaw and Tobin Bell, the actor who plays John Kramer, aka Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Jigsaw is, you gotta put him up there with maybe a tier under Freddy, Michael, and Jason. Because he is, like, the early 2000s, he's the biggest horror movie draw at this around this time period was Jigsaw.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, my dad had never seen like a horror villain like this,
where they were so just self-righteously.
Yeah, who was on like a righteous crusade, who had a point he was trying to make. Because in the first couple of movies, there's times where you're like, I hate to say it, but he's almost right, or he almost has a point.
It definitely gets convoluted in the sequels, but
there are times where you feel like he's almost right. Especially in the first one.
I would say first two.
Yeah, the first two.
Because the first one you don't get too much.
Right.
I mean, you get like the basics, but Saw 2 is when they like really expand on his ideas.
Yeah.
And why he's doing the things he's doing.
Yeah, but like in the first Saw, the lesson he was trying to teach Dr. Gordon, like, Gordon didn't deserve to, mutilate himself, but but it was a lesson he needed to learn, that you have so many blessings in your life. Why are you cheating on your wife? Why are you neglecting your child?
Sick of those who don't appreciate their blessings.
Exactly. Like, that part of it is pretty cool.
I still don't think Adam deserved to be in his trap, quite frankly. But
Adam did not deserve his ultimate fate, but again,
a lot of these characters,
most of the people don't deserve it until we get to Spiral. I
mean, like Saw 3D, Jigsaw.
Well, yeah.
The early films, a lot of them don't deserve what they get.
Well, and that was, I've heard people say that was almost like, this was, a horror a lot of times reflects current events, like eras of horror. Like, with the 30s, it was monsters, it was fantasy, it was escapism. When you got to the 50s and 60s, that was during the Red Scare. And so that was like, they're invading, they're coming, or I'm sorry, the 40s and 50s, that was like World War II, so it's like they're invading, they're coming to get us. That's what you had, War of the World and stuff like that. In the 60s and 70s, and then into the 80s, you had the Communist Scare, and it's, they're among us already. So you had Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing.
I can't wait to talk about Invasion of the Body Snatchers when we get to it.
Because I love that movie. And by the time it got to the early 2000s, it was in post 9/11 America, and it was the unwinnable situation.
I never really thought of it that way.
I hadn't either until I saw this analysis about it, where it's like, this is like, we didn't win. Other than Vietnam, but a lot of people like to pretend we won. It's like America had never really been in the situation of, we couldn't win. It's not just that we lost; we couldn't win. And it was bad things happening to good people, and so Saw was almost a reaction to that sort of post 9/11, fear of terrorism, fear of innocent people, getting what they don't deserve. And so that was kind of where you got, again, Saw, Hostel, that sort of, I hate the term torture porn because it really,
I
to
do
me,
too.
delegitimizes a movie. Just because, I mean, like,
It's like it's trying to make you feel disgusted with yourself by just watching it,
right.
rather than actually taking in the experience of the film.
Yeah, it's still a movie.
Now, you could put Saw, like the first Saw, and Hostel next to each other. Big difference
Oh, absolutely.
between these two.
Absolutely. But to me, it's like...
And Hostel is its own experience, and you do have to have a strong stomach.
You do, and you have
for
to
that
be
one.
able to put up with Eli Roth's writing. Because he loves to write the most obnoxious characters. And that is very much... His movies, you either never like, or they're an acquired taste. You very rarely start off liking his writing.
It's
But
been so long since I've seen that movie.
yeah,
That
like I love
I can't
Cabin
even remember
Fever.
how bad the writing is in Hostel.
It's more just that his characters are so hateable, and like I love Cabin Fever. I like the Hostel movies.
There's only two, or there's three, right?
Hostel, yeah, there's three.
I've seen the first two. I've
See,
never
the
seen
third one he actually didn't direct, but the third one I actually think that's the best one.
Probably because he didn't direct
Well,
it.
but it was directed by a guy named Scott Spiegel, who co-wrote my favorite horror movie of all time, Evil Dead 2. He also was the guy who made a movie, a sort of slightly under the radar slasher movie called Intruder, that took place in a grocery store at night, and Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi both acted in it, and Bruce Campbell shows up at the very end.
I don't think I feel like we've talked about this movie, but
Yeah,
I've never
it's-
seen it.
And Tarantino fucking loves that movie.
That's got to be a good. Well, depending on your taste in Tarantino,
Right.
A good sign or a bad one.
But anyway, but we're talking about the entire franchise of Saw.
Ranking from worst to best. I know on Text Chainsaw I started off first, so
Yeah, so I'll
why
go-
don't we go with your list to get us
Yeah.
started on Saw?
Well, I know for a fact we have the exact same number 9, because there's 9 movies in the franchise, and this is one where it's like there's no denying that the worst movie is Saw 7, aka Saw 3D, aka Saw the Final Chapter.
Spoiler alert, it's also at number 9 on my list.
Yeah, just
The rest of the franchise is just so far ahead of this one, and that's saying a lot depending on the bottom ones in this franchise.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
because there's some bad. I mean, this is not the only bad one, but it's just you can tell it was them really trying to just sort of let's put a big finale together, and it was a mess.
It's like, let's cash out while the money's still coming in.
Exactly. But they just even the story beats that don't work, even that aside, there's a character. There's a couple characters in it. 2 of our main characters we follow are so unlikable.
I know one of them. I'm not sure about the other one yet.
You've got
Detective Gibson,
Detective Gibson,
who just comes off as like he's obviously written and acted like, and the way he's performed is that he's supposed to be like a cool cop,
Yeah.
but he just comes off as such sleaze.
and not even just sleaze, but just a dick. He's so smug, and he's a misogynist, and he's just
You have to give in order to receive in this house, Miss Tuck.
yeah, just Christ, he's the worst. The other one isn't nearly as unlikable as Gibson, but Bobby.
Oh yes, Bobby Dagan.
Bobby
our,
Dagan.
Fake Saul survivor.
Yeah, Sean Patrick Flannery, young Indiana Jones himself, as well as one of the Boondock Saints.
How
Gifted actor who gets stuck in a lot of shit.
like this?
Yeah. To be fair, there are a couple other gifted actors that got stuck in this one too, and we'll get to that in a little bit, because one of them is a sole bright spot. Yeah, it was. Once again, we're going to be spoiling the hell out of all of these.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen these movies, spoiler alert, I suggest you go watch them for yourself to get your own opinion. But if you want to save yourself the time, save yourself the time.
Yeah.
This one's bad.
This one's really bad. Honestly, if anything, I recommend watching the Dead Meat Kill Count episode. We're big fans of the Kill Count series on YouTube. So look up the Kill Count.
Not gonna lie, it's a big reason why I wanted to start this.
Oh, yeah.
Because he does it so well and we're such big horror fans. James A. Janice, if you ever see this, we love you.
We do. We do. We will happily have your children.
Okay, I won't go that far. I already have 2 of my own. I don't know if I want more. So Saw the Final Chapter is number 9.
We can't compete with Chelsea.
No. The blood is pink.
Yeah, like
it always bothered me. Like this movie would.
The blood looks so fake.
I could almost put this at number 8 if the blood would have been red. It's like if a bunch of fans got together and gathered as much money as they could and did a sequel to the franchise.
Yeah, it looks so cheap compared to all of them, including the first one, which was like made for what? What wasn't it like less than $1 million or something?
Less than $1 million, I know that, but I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
I'll see if it's.
But I know all they started off with was 2 guys in a bathroom.
Yeah.
And look how far they fell.
Okay, yeah. So it was
Was it 1 million?
It was 1,200,000.
1,200,000.
So $1 million. So $1,200,000.
Oh, it was 1,200,000.
Yeah. Whereas Saw the Final Chapter had a $20 million budget,
and they couldn't get real looking blood. Come on.
I mean,
they couldn't get real blood. They couldn't. I mean, they had good actors. It's just a crappy script.
Yeah, just so bad.
There are a couple bright spots in this movie. I like that Hoffman basically just goes full psycho. It's just, I'm going to wreck everything to get what I want.
Hoffman essentially just becomes a slasher villain.
Yeah.
It's like
it's been in the making.
Right.
It's just so terribly told.
Yeah, and it's like at this point, it's not even like he's using traps that much.
No, he's really
like
not.
He's doing at least as much just in-person killing as he's doing like setting up traps.
When he finally gets into the police station, it gets brutal.
Oh yeah. But the and again, one of the bright spots is the acting that Cary Elwes returned for this movie, and they do his character dirty, but
what did you say this movie was? Is $20 million?
Yeah,
$19 million of it had to go to Cary.
Had to go to him. Yeah, he and Tobin probably were like most of the budget, honestly. But it just what they did with his character was bullshit, but he did a good job.
He did good with what they wanted him to do, but yes,
Yeah.
I agree. And honestly, the only reason why they made him a villain is because fans were making it into a theory.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, he added subtle acting touches that almost redeemed some scenes. Specifically the final scene.
Oh, yeah. I know we've talked about that one at length.
That to me is the biggest pro of this movie, which has very few. But the final scene, there's so much good symmetry to it, but the movie did not earn that scene. The rest of the movie is so bad that it doesn't feel like this scene should hit harder. But
it should be this emotional,
like
for fans of the franchise anyway,
Right.
this emotional send off of we're finally we're ending where we started,
Yeah.
and it's finally this. It's over. Instead, we get a oh, thank God, it's over.
Right. And it's like, man, out of context, this scene would have been cool.
Because one thing I'll give Saw over a lot of horror movie franchises is that throughout the franchise, they were trying to tell one story.
Yeah.
Whereas every Friday the 13th is Jason in a camp.
Yeah.
Or, Jason killing a bunch of teens. Nightmare on Elm Street, you have some continuity there, but that usually changes around like every two or three films in.
Yeah.
Throughout all the first 7 Saw movies, they're trying to tell one cohesive story.
Right.
It's not cohesive, but they try, and I'll give them a little bit of credit for that.
Yeah. But the scene at the end, there's, again, a couple of moments where I'm like, I can't give this movie, I can't give this movie just a 1 out of 10, just because this little, a couple little bits at the end. And again, it's where you've got Hoffman, wakes up, and you've got the iconic, you see the lights turn on.
The theme kicks
Yeah,
in
the
right
theme
when the
kicks
lights are
in.
on. It's really good.
And you see Dr. Gordon, when he picks up the hacksaw and looks at it, there's, again, it's like, this is where you really see that Cary Elwes is a great actor. Because he's able to make that scene feel meaningful in an otherwise shitty movie. Because he just looks at it almost as if he's like, I remember you.
And from what I understand, from what Jigsaw was saying to Gordon on his tape, is that this is the first time Gordon's been to the bathroom since leaving it. Which, again, for fans, that carries a lot of weight.
It does.
Or at least it should.
It
Again,
should.
It's not
If it was
earned.
in a better movie, it would have had more weight. But I still have to give it the credit where it is a good scene.
Very much so, and not just by Gordon Hoffman or the actor Costas Mandalore pulls his weight in this scene very well.
He's a good actor.
Which, by the way, he looks like a discount evil Wolverine in this movie.
He kind of does.
He's got like the hair and the mutt.
Now I want to see him play Wolverine.
Want to play a game, bub? Marvel, call this man now.
But yeah, the scene where he just kind of looks at the saw, just with this kind of, we meet again, and then just the look of, I don't think so. Like that was a good moment.
The one bad thing in this scene is that terrible 3D effect when he throws the saw and it's coming right at us. And again, I don't know why they wanted to do 3D, because I know 3D was hot at this point for horror, especially for horror films. Mm-hmm. But if this is going to be your send off, why cheapen it with 3D?
Why make it a gimmick? Why add a gimmick? But and then when he walks away and he sees for the first, because we don't see the severed foot in the first movie, so for the first time he looks down and we just see the skeletal foot.
I mean, we see the severed foot throughout the franchise, but this is what Gordon sees it for the first time. And
he just almost like, it's almost like he salutes it as he walks out, and him being the one to say game over. Again, there is a great symmetry to that.
I still think it's dumb that he was turned into a villain.
Exactly.
I wish we could have gotten the last scene, but with Gordon being a good guy, make him be obsessed with catching Jigsaw.
Exactly, because in this case,
you kidnapped me in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You had someone hold my wife and daughter hostage, threatening to kill them.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful for this experience. Thank you so much for letting me see the error of my ways. That's stupid.
Yeah.
It makes sense for Amanda.
Yeah.
And we can get into that later.
Yeah.
When we talk about the film she's in. But for Gordon, it makes no sense.
Right.
Why are you helping someone who threatened to kill your wife and daughter? Where are the wife and daughter in this movie? Were they the ones in the pig mask? when they kidnapped Hoffman? No. And it still would have made sense if it was, compared to the two who it was supposed to be.
Yeah, because they don't show it in the movie, but if you watch it with like the commentary and the behind the scenes stuff, they say that it's these two guys from the opening scene, and it was the stupidest.
They're never seen again, and it's never implied. Like, this is one of the big gripes I have with this franchise, is that seemingly whoever survives a Jigsaw game, they just become brainwashed into, oh, like, he helped me.
Well, no, because there's the support group.
True, but even in the support group, there's the one lady who was... It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
And then you've got the one woman that's like, you idiot.
Thank goodness.
Just that one woman who's just like...
The best thing that happened to me was that I get handicapped sparking in the damn mall.
Yeah. Just like...
That is more realistic than...
Absolutely.
You know, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
He helped me so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost died, but, you know, I had to.
I feel like a good guy would do exactly what Gordon did anyway, where it's like he finally caught the last remnant of the Jigsaw killer.
Which again, to me, would have been a great send-off. Gordon should have been in the movie a lot more. Quite frankly, if they would have just cut out Bobby Dagan, and all the stuff going on with him,
like that was an interesting idea. It's like, what if a guy like pretended to have been a Jigsaw victim for clout? Like, that's a cool idea.
It's a cool idea. It's poorly executed
exactly.
in this movie. And especially with Gordon making his return.
Yeah.
You could cut out all the Bobby Dagan stuff and just have, like, almost crazy psycho Gordon.
That's what I'm saying is
Gordon trying to find, like you said, the last remnants of the Jigsaw killer and finally put an end to it.
Exactly.
It would have been a great send-off.
He should have been Quint from Jaws, where he's like... He's, you know, kind of the crazy old man who's, like, hell-bent. You know, again, he's this Captain Ahab. You know, just, you know, it's got to be destroyed. You know, it's got to end. It's got to be destroyed.
And I have to be the one who does it.
Exactly. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be me.
Yes.
Because I deserve to be the one who ends it. I have the right to end it.
But the fact that he just turns into a villain... It left such a sour taste in my mouth. We have two sequels. Two sequels to this movie now. Yeah. I mean, I know Spiral is more of a spin-off telling its own story. Yeah. But Jigsaw is definitely a sequel. And there's no mention of Gordon. And that's frustrating to me. It really is. Yeah,
you really... Like, one or two rewrites would have saved this movie.
Well, I heard, like, there was an original ending for Saw 3D where... like, as Gordon is leaving, you hear of all over the country, people are, oh, Jigsaw helped me, Jigsaw saved me, and it's basically like a cult that has, like, consumed the country or something.
That's kind of interesting.
I could be wrong, please, like, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Yeah. Maybe I read it as a fan theory somewhere, but... interesting concept, but again...
That is an interesting concept.
But it still bothers me that they basically make Jigsaw like evil Jesus.
Right.
AKA Satan.
I was going to say, that's just Satan. That's just what Satan is. The Nega Jesus. But,
eye for an eye indeed. Jigsaw read the Bible and got to that passage and was like, I'm going to write that shit down.
Yeah. You know what? I like that part. I'm keeping it. But again, it's like, man, one or two rewrites could have saved this movie.
Could have. And again, I hate... And a big... Like, Jigsaw is always supposed to give his victims a chance to live. And by this point, there was no chance.
No.
And especially the... I mean, yeah, in Saw 1, you do have Gordon's wife and daughter who are threatened with death. But at least they get away.
Right.
In Saw 3D, it's just such mean-spirited what happens to Dagan's wife.
Oh, that was
because she didn't know that he was a con.
Yeah.
If she would have known...
She was an accomplice?
If she was an accomplice, it could have been justified. But the fact that she's just an innocent woman being burned alive...
Yeah.
Does not do it for me. Like, reverse that.
Yeah.
Put Dagan in that trap and have his wife watch everything literally go up in flames for him.
Yeah.
For what he has done.
Exactly.
Not the other way around.
Right. And I get the power and weight of him having to see his wife die, like of how much that is, at least as torturous for him as it is for her. But at the same time, like, what did she do?
Right.
Jigsaw isn't in the business of punishing the innocent. I mean, he is, but at the same time, it's like he wouldn't deem someone he deems innocent. He wouldn't do anything to someone he deems innocent.
That's right. Because even with Gordon's wife and daughter, that was someone else who was tasked to kill them.
Yeah.
And it was, would you murder a mother and her child to save yourself?
Right.
So being directly responsible for the death of this woman just does not work for me. And it really doesn't work for Jigsaw.
No.
But again, by this point, is it really Jigsaw who put all these traps in motion? Or was it Hoffman?
Was it Hoffman using a voice filter? Like, obviously, Jigsaw was the one that had a beef with Bobby Dagan.
Yes, because you do get the flashback scene with Tobin Bell wearing the hat backwards, like he's some old hipster.
How do you do, fellow kids?
And really, Tobin Bell's not in this movie very much.
He's not.
I think even he was like, I'm tired of this shit.
He was like, he read the script and was like, no, fuck this.
He was Donnie Wahlberg from Saw 4. I don't want to play anymore.
Except he wished he died.
Oh, Lord.
But we'll get to that one later. But yeah, so I mean, just what else can be said about Saw the Final Chapter? Again, it's like there's a couple of good moments that just aren't enough to
shout out to Chester Bennington for
that scene was cool
for being in this movie.
Yeah.
And the other redeemable scene is when Hoffman finally gets Jill
We
with
see
the
reverse-
original bear trap.
Yeah.
And Saw fans definitely deserved it. And if there was one time I was okay with the 3D gimmick,
Yeah.
it was for this trap.
It was the brains and viscera flying. I mean, that that makes
literally flying in your face. And actually, I'm going to sound like such a sick person for this.
Go ahead.
But I like the aftermath of when the head falls down and you see the tongue fall out.
That was great.
Like, I don't know if that was unintentionally funny for me.
Oh, that was definitely that had to have been like a,
Snitches get stitches.
that had to have been like that was clearly timed the way you would time a joke.
And Hoffman also gets a game over in this one because after he kills Jill,
he says game over. Yeah.
Which, apropos, because he's been trying to basically like rid himself, but also take the title of, I am the heir to Jigsaw. This is my legacy now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's like got a couple of cool moments that the movie does not deserve.
Because the movie's so bad.
Right.
What is your number 8?
My number 8 is Saw 5. And
not my number 8.
I was going to say...
We differ on this one, but Saw 5 is bad.
And I know what your number 8 is, and I'll explain why I find Saw 5 worse.
All right, go ahead.
Saw 5, to me, was the laziest.
I know at the end of every movie, there's supposed to be, the theme kicks in, and there's the big twist. There was really no twist.
There wasn't a twist.
It was just Strom got outsmarted by Hoffman.
Right. And the thing is, which we knew was going to happen.
Yeah, we all saw it coming.
Right.
It was,
Yeah, and the thing is,
lazy.
You're
right,
the
lazy.
movie, the series did, in a sense, I was about to say shoot itself in the foot, but cut its foot off, in this case, by having to try to out-twist itself with each movie. It shouldn't have had that burden, but it managed to do so for the most part. If not out-twist it, at least incorporate a new twist each time.
But this one was just bad.
It was there wasn't. Because they built up to it. They treated it like a twist.
And this is when we really started getting 2 movies in one.
Yeah.
You have the cop plot,
Yeah.
the cop plot, and then you have the trap plot.
Exactly. And they didn't intertwine.
Up to this point, Saws 1 through 4 had all their stuff intertwined.
It was all one. Yeah.
4 does it kind of badly and loosely, but it's still there.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you just have characters going through hell because, you know, it's a Saw movie.
Right. This one felt like we need to crank out another Saw movie. It felt like there was no idea behind it. It felt.
Well, to me,
it felt.
It was like after the big...
It felt like there was no passion behind the making of it. It felt like no one...
Well, this was also directed by, I think, David Hackle.
Yeah.
Who, you know, I think this was after 2, 3, and 4 were done by Bousman.
Yeah.
Darren Lynn Bousman.
Yeah.
And kudos to James Wan for starting the franchise, but the Saw franchise is essentially Darren Lynn Bauman's baby.
He made it what it was. Like, because Lee Winnell stuck around to write
1 through 3. And,
1 through
and James
3.
Wan was also
James
a part
Wan
of
had a
1 through 3
story
as well.
credit, yeah. But yeah, Lee Winnell and James Wan brought it to life. Darren Lynn Bousman
crafted it.
Yeah, he carried it. He was the one who really made it into a franchise. He's the one that made it a saga.
And Hackle really hacked it.
Hey, because he was what, the editor of the previous films?
I
or was
believe
he the...
so. I'd have to look it up.
but
But I mean, even the traps in Saw 5.
he was
are
the
not that
production
great.
designer of the previous 4. Because he or not 4, the of 2, 3, and 4. And it looks like also was the production designer for Darren Lynn Bousman's Repo: The Genetic Opera, which is also really cool. But so clearly the guy is a very gifted production designer. But just this was not a good This was not a good first-time director movie.
If this is his first director's credit, you can. Which I hope it
was it?
It might be. I hope it is because
Yeah, this was his first directing credit.
Because the pacing in this movie is awful.
Yeah, this was...
And the way Strong comes to conclusions about Hoffman make no sense.
Yeah, it's like he sees it and he's like...
Like, in this movie...
Everything is a hunch, essentially.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And he's right.
It's like, Strom... He goes to past Jigsaw crime scenes and just literally talks to himself.
Yeah, it's just...
About how Hoffman was there.
Yeah. It's... What it makes me think of is it's like he's giving his own detective noir narration...
To no one.
Yeah.
To himself.
It makes me think of Kronk doing his own theme music in Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, yeah.
It's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
We let Goose go. Oh, yeah. It's all coming together.
Is it Strom? Is it coming together? I don't think it is.
Right.
You're in for a crushing revelation. I'm funny.
It didn't feel like a movie anyone really wanted to make. It didn't feel like they didn't want to make it, but it didn't feel like... Again, it felt passionless.
It was like after the big twist in Saw 4, which we will get to.
Yeah.
It was, this could have potential to be the finale for the series, so fans are expecting a finale, but let's just cough up some crap. And
yeah, exactly. It was just kind of...
Because Saw 5, in my opinion, Saw 5 should have found a way to wrap up the story and conclude.
Yeah.
Since this franchise has been trying to tell one cohesive story, with the big twist in 4, 5 should have ended it all, in my opinion.
Yeah. If not 4.
Yeah, true. There's a good... 4 also has a good way of being the end, but we'll get there.
Yeah. But this just... And, like, if they hadn't made it so fucking obvious from the very beginning
of what was gonna happen.
well, and of the actual like game being played, because the sort of
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was really a twist, but the idea was like if they'd all actually worked together and cooperated and given a shit about each other, they could have all survived.
Well, and even Jigsaw says it in the opening trap.
That's what I'm saying is
ignore your baser instincts.
That's what I'm saying is if they hadn't just telegraphed it immediately, it could have been a cool twist.
And the thing is what makes it even worse is that they had time to think about it. Because there was like a fifth, like in the later films, Jigsaw gives people like 60 seconds or 120 seconds to put themselves through life-altering pain,
right,
and win. These people have like 15 minutes,
yeah,
to get to know each other, make a discussion, and figure out how to get out of these traps. And they're even wise enough to be like, hey, don't go too far forward or it's going to set everything off.
Yeah.
It's like they could have easily put their 5 brains together and made it work.
Yeah, and like...
The opening trap could have been the only excuse of one person having to die.
Yeah.
I'll give them that. But from that point forward, and you're being dumb.
And
you're dumb.
And the kill looked so bad.
It could have been so good, and it was trash.
It was like
really
the
sets the tone
fakest
for the
looking,
movie.
just, but man, it's like I'm all for a nihilistic twist. I grew up on the Twilight Zone. I love nihilistic twists, but they telegraphed it immediately. If he hadn't said, you all need to work together, if that was just the revelation at the end was, we all could have survived if we hadn't tried to beat each other, if we hadn't made it a competition. That could have been cool. But yeah, it just completely falls flat. And
it does. And really, you can take out that part of the movie and still get the same results.
Yeah. And
that's what bugs me a lot about this movie, is that the whole entire trap sequence you can do without.
Yeah.
And then you have a 45-minute movie with Strahm chasing Hoffman and Strahm talking to himself and Strahm trying to look cool in a leather jacket.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, and Scott Patterson and Costas Mandylor are doing a great job.
They're doing a great job with the crap they've been given.
Exactly. It's like their acting is good. They're both good actors.
And from what I've heard, because I used to have all these on DVD, and I don't know what happened to them.
I have the complete.
When these two were wanting to, when it was time for them to fight, they actually wanted to throw haymakers at each other.
They were like, we'll do it.
And when Hoffman is supposed to get thrown into the glass coffin with the glass shards in, he wanted real glass.
Yeah.
Like,
Costas Mandylor.
Dude's an alpha male.
Like, dude is like, is he okay?
And it's like I think even the producers and the directors knew that this movie's so bad it's not worth getting actually hurt.
Honestly, yeah. I remember when I was in Beauty and the Beast this past summer, our actor who played Gaston, there's a scene where Belle is supposed to slap him, and that's like this big victorious moment for her. He basically said, "Look, go ahead and slap me. Here's where you want to hit me so that it makes a noise and doesn't hurt as much." And he's like, just go ahead and hit me.
Did she go through with it?
She did.
All
and
right.
it was like, and it made a loud sound, and it didn't like do any damage. He didn't have a big red mark or anything, but he said, here's where you want to aim so that it makes a loud noise. And then one night there's a part where Gaston is supposed to fake punching me, the Beast, in the gut. And he accidentally actually punched me in the gut.
Ooh.
And I was fine. In fact, I was trying not to laugh because I was like, holy shit, he did it. It was more just kind of that, I'm not even mad. And when he got backstage, he was like, I am so sorry. I'm like, dude, it's totally fine. It looked cool. But,
and I'm pretty sure that's what Costas Mandylor was thinking, is that, it's going to look cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Or at least this is going to be a cool story to tell that, hey, I actually let myself be thrown into glass.
Right. But...
the one redeeming scene in this movie for me, and probably another reason why I have it a slot higher, is...
than what my number 7 is going to be.
The Hoffman Jigsaw scene when they first meet.
Yes, that scene is cool.
It's like set over 7 minutes long, And it's a great scene.
And it's a great moment of Tobin Bell. It's a great moment for him as an actor. We really get to finally see more on-camera acting from him in a really intense, dramatic scene.
Instead of just the cold callous that we have grown accustomed to from this character.
And he's great at it. He's great at it. It's not like we can't tell he's a good actor from those scenes, but it's like this scene where he's kind of giving Hoffman a philosophy lecture. I would agree. It's almost like he's giving this passionate sermon. And
the fact that he is so disgusted by Hoffman in this scene.
Yeah.
Like the killing is distasteful.
Yeah, where it's like
you see him get pissed.
You really do.
And angry Jigsaw is kind of cool to see.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you don't see it very often.
Yeah. Again, none of these movies I think are entirely irredeemable.
Except for 3D.
What I'm saying is 3D at least had that scene, it had that final scene.
This is the scene for this one.
Yeah, exactly. This is but to me this one just felt like there was no drive behind it. Again, it doesn't look like everyone hated this, like, being in it. No one was like sleepwalking through it or half-assing it.
This is like when it really got, when the story itself really started to get itself screwed up and twisted up, because we're supposed to believe that Hoffman has been helping basically since the beginning almost, which makes no sense because if Jigsaw at this point, who all has been his victims in order for him to get the moniker of Jigsaw?
Right.
If Hoffman was there to help in the first place. How did Hoffman know enough about the case to construe his own trap to kill his sister's killer, which is why Jigsaw went after him? But
because he's mad that his whole point was just he wanted to kill.
Mm-hmm. I do like that. I like the Hoffman character a lot.
Yeah.
I think this movie needed this type of character after Jigsaw dies.
Yeah.
And Hoffman really carries that antagonist torch really well. And through these flashbacks, you do see Hoffman like lose himself and lose his humanity and see him fall into madness.
Yeah. This is kind of
it's not well told, but you see it happen.
Yeah, it's not well told, but it is well acted.
Yes, it is. I'll get definitely for sure.
But speaking of, making the timeline even more convoluted, my number 7 is Jigsaw. Here's the reason, the other reason why I had this one above Saw 5.
I can't have it above Saw 5. It's number 8 for me.
I get it. The only thing was, for one, some of the traps look kind of cool. The traps were at least a little bit more creative than they were in 5. But the main reason is the twist would have been awesome if it made sense.
And it doesn't.
It doesn't.
You could have given me a Jigsaw that was still alive, and it would have made more sense than this.
Like, it was the reveal of him taking the tarp off of the bodies. That reveal would have been so cool if it didn't immediately, raise every question.
Because the technology, this is supposed to be the very first trap.
Yeah.
Really? Because look at the stuff Jigsaw is using in Saw 1 and 2.
Yeah, because in this case, all of a sudden, he's using modern TVs. He has far more elaborate traps than barbed wire.
Right.
Or just
flammable jelly.
Yeah, or a chain. And the idea of, yet again, we have someone else who was helping him from the very beginning.
Which means, where was he throughout this entire franchise?
Exactly. It's this one...
Or did he help for a little bit and then go off to war and his wife died?
Right.
It's not... I personally don't know. If y'all know, please tell us, because it's not very well explained in the movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that this movie basically gets a double body count because it's repeating the traps.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the other people in the traps today? That's who I want to know.
Right.
What did they do?
Right.
Why were they there? Were they simply there to be decoys? In that case, hey, dude, you're not really following the philosophy of the guy that you love so much.
Right. And it even fails to stick the landing of being like a throwback, because like it doesn't stick the landing of giving fans what they want, because I do think that the laser trap, as you know, extra head ass as it was,
The Demogorgon trap.
yeah, the Demogorgon, like it was cheap. The animation was not convincing.
It was bad,
but the body looked cool.
I'll give
The
you
dead
that.
body looked cool. The aftermath was pretty gruesome.
Could have
but-
used the 3D gimmick on that one.
Honestly, just to have it like it's a
Spray up.
fountain.
Yeah.
what they needed to do was put it in one of those like amusement park things where like then they actually spray water in your face. But the
They can't even get the catchphrase right.
that's what I'm saying is like you
speak for the dead.
you didn't
That's
even,
not what he says.
you didn't even give the fans a game over. And even if you had, no one would have heard it. You waited till after he died to
Right?
say anything.
Like, why? Like, why not? Like, you're the one with the laser pointer. Why?
Yeah.
Like, let it get the right here and be like, game over.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
kill him. And then slam the door.
Yeah, like
Or
yeah.
say game over as it's killing him.
Yeah, just
Or
like,
even do your I speak for the dead bullcrap.
yeah. I mean, even
You're talking to a dead body.
you're not speaking for them; you're speaking to them. You can't even get your own catchphrase right.
It's so bad.
Are you mad?
For me, it convolutes itself too much for me.
It does.
I mean, at least Saw 5 may be lazy, but at least it's not trying to like do too much. Where
Sure.
I felt Jigsaw was trying to do too much.
Sure. I'm the kind of person that will.
And also, he says that him and the detective were the last two in their game.
Yeah.
And if you follow the stuff that was going on in 10 years in the past,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense, because does the dude step in his own tripwire to fall through the motorcycle trap?
Yeah.
Like, it does, and even like, I can't remember her name, the redhead.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
But how does she get, like, she bought one of the saw traps off of eBay or something?
Eleanor.
Eleanor, there it is. I knew it
Yeah.
started with an E. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember. But how does Eleanor get one of these traps, and then how is the very same trap used?
Yeah, exactly. It didn't make sense. I'm the kind of person that will give credit to ambition. Or it's like the fact that it was as ambitious as it was
ambitious.
I do that to me does mean a lot. It's bad. I'm not saying it's not bad. But I do I do have to give it credit for being as ambitious.
Well,
as
I think
it
we
is.
talked about this in the Texas Chainsaw franchise, is that there was so much potential, but the crash is so bad that
for
I can't.
Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
crash is so bad that I can't forgive it.
Yeah.
Which is why it's, personally for me, it's number 8.
Right. But number 6 is Saw 4. Now, Saw 4 had some strong moments. Its lows were not nearly as low as the previous ones mentioned. But
And this is the first Saw we get after Jigsaw's death.
right.
Or so we think.
Ooh. It is. But the which I feel like 3 ended so well. I feel like 3 wrapped it up.
That's debatable.
It felt finite, is what I mean. Is 3 felt finite.
Okay.
This one was basically all the loose ends that didn't get tied up in 3.
Well, and really the only stuff that needed to be tied up was all the stuff with Eric Matthews.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at this point the story wasn't too crazy and didn't attached so many unnecessary webs that it didn't need a whole lot of stuff to be tied up.
Right. But it was also the first one without James Wan or Lee Whannell involved in the writing process.
And you can tell.
I was saying, and that shows, because it feels less. Again, this is where it starts to, where the ends start to fray a little bit.
You get a lot of cop cliche dialogue in this movie.
Which doesn't always bother me because the Saw movies have never been. They've never shied away from embracing certain cliches.
I'll give you that.
They're not. They do not think. The movies don't think so highly of themselves that they think they're above, these sort of classic, cop banter that you would see in, a movie that would have inspired Saw, like something like Seven or Zodiac or Silence of the Lambs.
Now, I personally have Saw 4 a lot higher on my list.
Right.
And a lot of it a good chunk of it has to do with Hoffman. Because
Hoffman is a good character.
We don't know that Hoffman is a villain until the end of the film.
Right.
But when you go back and rewatch it, it's all there.
Right.
Like when he gets the stuffed animal.
Yeah.
For Jeff's kidnapped daughter.
Yeah.
The Detective Perez is who's is that? Boy or girl? Girl, I didn't know you had kids. It's complicated.
Yeah.
Like that's a nugget.
Yeah.
And if you
Hoffman's story in this is good.
And if you watched Saw 3 and you get the quick shot of the daughter holding that stuffed animal, you could piece it together.
Oh yeah. And that is this one does.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Perez says it was like boy or girl. Girl, I didn't know you were married. I'm not. It's complicated.
Right. Yeah, this does kind of have a 1-2 punch twist,
which I really like.
I like this twist.
I think it's an underrated twist in the franchise.
Is.
A lot of people don't give this credit.
Yeah. Because for those who don't know, this was happening at the exact same time as 3.
Which I thought was great.
That was a great twist.
And it's implied a lot throughout the movie.
Yeah.
You have one of the detectives come up to Hoffman and say, looks like another doctor went missing from the hospital, and they're talking about the female doctor from part 3.
Yeah, they're talking about Jeff's wife.
Yes, Lynn.
Lynn, thank you. I was like, I hate to just refer to it. This makes me of Cotton Hill. Hank's wife.
Jeff's wife. Can we get Jigsaw just saying, I want to play a game. I kill 50 man.
He's Laotian.
Yep, he's Laotian.
Also in Saw 4,
I tell you what.
You see Jigsaw kind of get his start.
You do.
Of him doing the distortion on the tapes.
Yeah.
And, you get a lot of background about his wife and
Yeah.
why he became
Right.
Jigsaw. This vigilante type of character, which it irritates me so much of how narcissistic John Kramer really is.
Oh yeah.
Like
he really,
very much thinks he's better than everyone else.
He really is an aspiring cult leader.
He tries to be that knight in shining armor who is Jim Jones, basically.
Yeah, he really thinks that he's an anti-hero.
And he's not. There's a lot of people of the franchise who believe that he's an anti-hero. He's not.
Again, he's an aspiring cult leader. He's a cult leader without a cult.
There's a line in Jigsaw where he says, you can never come from... And he even says this to Hoffman, I think, in Saw 5, is that you can never come from... That can never be about anger, revenge, and you can't come from emotion. And he does.
Oh, yeah.
And he does it in Jigsaw by going after Logan, because Logan mixed up his cancer diagnosis x-rays. And he does it to Cecil, who accidentally kills his unborn child.
Right.
You can't tell me that was not personal.
Right. But again, he doesn't think it's personal. He thinks he has a calling.
He's justified into doing
exactly. And it's like
And the fact that for Cecil, and this is how you know it's personal, for Cecil, there is no tape. He is talking to him one-on-one in person. Like, that's how personal it was that this one was for him. And I don't care how he wants to put it, he wanted him to die.
Oh, absolutely.
There was no, I want you to escape and find some sort of value in all the wrong things you've done.
He wasn't interested in him having redemption.
No, not at all.
And you've got a couple more of those happen later on.
He's such a hypocrite.
Right. And I think that's part of what makes him such an interesting character.
Fair enough. I'll give you that.
It's frustrating, but that's the point.
There's nothing more dangerous than a villain who feels that they are justified in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And while, like, in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, we just get a bunch of crazy people.
Right. Which are fun.
Which, it's fun, and I really like Sawyer's line, you know, I take no pleasure in killing, it's just something you gotta do. I love that
That's
line.
a chilling line.
But Jigsaw truly believes that this was what he is meant to do.
Yeah.
He has the right to do it, and if you try to stop him, you will pay. Basically the reason why he kills the entire police force.
Right.
Because his reasoning for going after Rigg in this movie is stupid.
It is.
Oh, you want to try to save everyone? Pfft, that's bad.
You need to learn that you can't save everyone. It's like...
That's literally what you're doing in your own way. Save as I save.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some of them are like...
But I'm speaking praisal for the movie, and I don't mean to cut into your time. Why is it number 6 on your list?
It was... Again, it's like you could tell this is where it started to stray from, I think... I don't know. It
kind of leans into the torture.
Well, not even that. It just, like I said, I feel like it really does feel like the first one with different writers.
Okay.
And maybe that's one of those things with me being a writer that it's like it feels not disrespectful. But it feels like
you're taking such a sharp left turn.
Why are you still like? Why did you keep going?
Answer: money.
Exactly. But just it. But I don't hate it. I don't even fully dislike it.
Because there are a lot of good things.
There are good things about it. But it felt like this is when it really, I think, started to nosedive. It hadn't by now, but it was starting to, because it was starting to lean into, in a sense of like how creative can we, how elaborate can we get with the traps, and then, or games, and but also just it felt like it was really missing it did feel like Jigsaw was missing.
Well, we were supposed to believe he was dead.
Right. As opposed
and
to...
a lot of people harp on this about how could you do that when at the beginning of Saw 4 you have the Strom and Perez, the FBI agents, point out how, oh, this wasn't John and this wasn't Amanda. Well, that's kind of easy to answer. Saw 2 is being watched on monitors, and it's eventually going to be revealed on those monitors that Amanda's been helping him this entire time.
Right.
So that's kind of easy to point out.
It's not. It's not bad.
But it's not great.
It's okay.
You're right. It's not bad. It's not good. It's okay. I think it's good, but.
But my number 5.
Before we move on to number 5, I will harp on it for this.
Go right ahead.
Has a terrible piece of crap Jeff is.
Yeah.
I think what they do with him in Saw 4 is stupid.
Yeah.
I think it was, we kind of forgot he was there. Let's hurry up and tie him in and kill him.
Yeah.
Because Jigsaw says on his tape for Jeff, if you want to get your daughter back, you're going to have to play a game. What game if your entire elaborate plan was just to have Strom shoot him? God.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're number 5.
Yeah, my number 5 is Saw 6. This is, this is the first one where you're watching it going, yeah, they deserve it. A couple, or at least some of them.
Definitely the insurance guy.
Yeah, the main guy we're following.
But I'll give it
is a greedy bastard.
He is, but I will give it this. As much as I hate that there's the cop plot and then the trap plot,
Yeah.
I feel it's done better in this one. They're not necessarily intertwining.
Yeah.
But
both of them feel like good stories.
Good stories on their own, whereas
Right.
in Saw 5, the trap plot is garbage.
Yeah, and it just it doesn't even affect what's going on.
The trap plot is garbage, and the cop plot is passionless.
Right.
Whereas in this one, they're both good stories with good merits on their own, and they do somewhat come together near the end, but not enough in my
This is
opinion.
another one that to me is ultimately okay, but I think it has higher highs than 4, just because I do really like the commentary. I do really like the fact that they tried to make one with a message.
Oh yeah, because this is straight up
Just like
bashing political insurance companies.
Yeah,
and all
just
that stuff.
just again, the American healthcare system, as long as you're rich, if you're rich, white, and already healthy, you're good to go.
And I will say about the William Easton, the insurance guy character, you see that character grow.
You do.
And even though he dies at the end of the film, I actually do feel a little bad for him. Not too much,
Right.
but it's like you could finally see that he did see the error of his ways and
or at the very least was starting to.
And maybe that would have led to a change. But he didn't get to make the choice.
It's almost like he was starting to learn, but at the same time,
it was too late.
Yeah, it's like it was too late. It's too late. You've done so much damage.
Now, what I don't like about Saw 6 and these traps is that Jigsaw is supposed to give everyone a chance to live.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, flat out, people have to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that Easton has to choose because Jigsaw even tells him in the flashbacks, you choose who
That's
lives
the whole
or dies.
Yeah, the whole point.
But why are you willing to why are you making him kill someone? He's mean to the janitor for smoking.
Yeah, just...
It's dumb.
Yeah, again, to me, it's like this is part of what keeps it from being good and making it okay.
Because the janitor's one of the people who doesn't deserve it.
Right. Yeah, that
You could argue that the lawyer doesn't deserve it because the lawyer just represents the company. But that's like you can go both ways with that one. Everyone on the carousel kind of deserves to be there.
Yeah.
But
because that's the bullpen.
Yes, the two people with the barbed wire around the neck, they don't deserve to be there. They haven't done anything wrong. Just one is an older woman with a family, one's a young man with nobody.
Yeah. It's like all of them prove a good point, but they didn't deserve to die. Like all of them.
And this is also like one of the times when it's like the trap for the lawyer, she does not have enough time. Like you're about to give this woman like literally 20 seconds to get this key out of this dude's side and unlock herself. I mean, granted, I totally get why Easton didn't try to like dig in there to find out why he was cut, but it also kind of makes me mad that it's never brought up again.
Sure.
Like
I just remembered one.
he just hobbles along the rest of this movie with the key in his side.
Right. Sorry, that just made me think of so one other positive about Final Chapter that I just remembered: the fish hook trap.
Oh,
That was good. That was a good trap.
that was hard to watch, but yeah, ooh,
Yeah.
grimacing.
Oh yeah. But with 6, I was like, man, I love I love the concept. I love the commentary. I think it's not subtle, but it works really well. And I like the way it is they relate it to Saw. I like the way they sort of compare the two. And with Easton, it's like the whole point was he's been callously just deciding who lives and who dies. So now he has to look them in the eye and watch them die.
And you definitely see that near the when he's talking with his lawyer.
And again, this is probably the first guy, other than the one guy in Saw 4 that was like a rapist or whatever.
That deserved it.
Yeah, him and then William Easton are kind of the first two that, like, you deserve this. Like, you're a shitty person.
I will say, well, even in Saw 4 with the rapist, Rigg, who didn't have to strap him in, like, straps him in because of what he did.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's my number 5.
All right, number 4?
Number 4 is Saw 3. And I have been defending this film for a while.
I've recently kind of jumped on your side about it because I disliked this movie for so long because Jeff is so terrible.
Jeff is
Angus McFadden is wonderful.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. I like him a lot.
The character's an idiot.
The character is an idiot who just literally walks throughout this entire film.
Yeah, he
is like sleepwalking throughout this entire movie. Who
and,
cannot make a decision.
McFadden as an actor isn't like sleepwalking through his performance or anything.
No,
but like the character the character is an idiot.
And the character's poorly written.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'd say the character's poorly written. I'd say he's just not written to be likable. I'd say he's just not likable.
And the things that he has to go through, they're, for the most part, he gets off easy. He's like a spectator who can choose to help or choose not to help. Really, the only hard thing he ever had to do was burn his dead son's stuffed animals.
Yeah.
That I can see that would be a hard decision to make because you have to let go.
Yeah, and I know you hate the pig vat.
Yes, I think that's just leaning into the grossness of everything.
Just to gross out.
It's gross for the sake of being gross.
Yeah. I didn't hate it, but I don't like it that much either. To me, what made this movie work really well is, well, two things in particular. One, the scenes with Lynn and John.
Yes.
And Amanda. Those scenes with the three of them are so good. That's like just a very well-written drama.
That's what really had me rethink my position on this movie.
Yeah.
Was after I went back and rewatched it, I had to forget about all the Jeff stuff, and all the stuff with Lynn, Amanda, and John is so good.
It's so good.
It really is. It's a shame that it's in such a as much as I love horror, it's such a shame that talented and really well done scenes like this go unnoticed because of the movie.
Because it's a horror movie, yeah.
Because it's a horror movie. You have the drama and then you have the horror.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for me, the drama is way better than the horror in this movie.
That is true.
But all the stuff with John, when he's alive, is great.
Because
they killed him way too soon.
Well, because I don't think they meant to continue it as long as they did.
That's true, but damn, just bring it. They should just find a cheap way to bring him back. Don't do the autopsy.
This was Juan and Juanel wanting to end it. But
it's like they could see the juggernaut coming.
Right. But to me, the big thing that was like the first time I watched it made me really like it. Was if Jeff had just learned to forgive. He inadvertently killed his own wife because he just couldn't learn to forgive. And that message I thought was really powerful. And I love seeing a message like that in what is essentially a throwback to exploitation movies.
I didn't think it worked.
I really did. I don't know. Maybe it's because I love that kind of message.
It's not that there was anything wrong with the message.
Yeah.
For me, it was just throughout every trap, Jeff just has to forgive, and he can't do it every single time, even though the stakes keep getting raised. That by the time it gets to will he forgive John or not, for me, you already know he's not, because he's already failed at doing this 3 separate times.
Sure.
He already came in guns blazing to shoot Amanda, which is justifiable.
Right.
But
See, the thing is,
it's like, John even tells him, I can have a hospital here in like 20 minutes.
yeah.
Let him call the ambulance to save your wife, bro.
Yeah. Well, also, I gotta, it looked like with the guy in the rack, what was his name?
Timothy Young.
Timothy Young. Yeah.
Who doesn't deserve it. This movie makes me mad, because the entire build-up, they keep saying the man responsible for the loss of your child, but that's for the daughter
Right.
twist at the
Right.
end. But the judge, I totally get why Jeff would paint Tim as a murderer,
Right.
because he is responsible for the death of his son.
Yeah.
I get where he's coming from. I don't understand the judge. The judge even paints Tim as a cold-blooded killer when it was an accident.
Yeah.
The trap that Tim gets in is not deserved. It'd be one thing if it was just done straight up out of malice and just, you know what, I'm going to hit this kid, I'm going to ruin this family. Timothy Young did not deserve what he got, and he got it probably the worst in the entire franchise,
Possibly. Yeah.
because it's John's favorite trap, as he says,
Yeah.
his personal favorite. It's just it doesn't sit well with me.
I understand that.
And yeah, he had to figure out the whole thing with the shotgun. And fuck Jeff. Seriously. Like, he
Yeah.
basically kills the judge. It's like the judge tries to get the key and realizes that if he does, he's going to get shot. And Jeff figures it out, and he's just, I got the key. Like,
Yeah.
you can't say that loud enough so the dude can get out of the way. It's like, oh yeah, we forgot that the judge was alive. Well, we got to find a way to kill him
Right.
off in the dumbest way possible.
Right.
This is why I have such mixed feelings on this movie, is because all the stuff with John, Lynn, and Amanda, especially John and Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
All the other stuff is literal pig shit.
Right. I don't know, like that. I guess it just didn't bother me that much. I don't know why, but I guess it looked like by the time he got to Timothy, it looked like he had grown enough that he might forgive John. But it's a horror movie.
Well, and it's a Saw film, so
Right.
he has to
So
fail.
it's not that I didn't think he would. It's not that I didn't think he would fail. I just the Just Desserts I thought was brilliant. You could have saved what was left of your family if you just learned to forgive.
I liked how, and what I hate about the sequels from 3 onward is how almost Jigsaw knows everything. He knows every move that everyone is going to make, including the FBI agents who he's never met.
Right.
He knows every single step, like he already has a tape planted for Strom ready to go.
Yeah.
I hated that. What I liked about his whole thing with Jeff and him playing that tape at the end was, I made this tape as an insurance policy.
Exactly.
Not, oh, I knew you were going to slit my throat. Just, I made it just in
Yeah.
case you made the wrong choice, and now you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And again, why is he hurting people who don't deserve it? Why is he taking a
Yeah.
little girl who has nothing to do with the mom's, with either one of the parents' neglect?
Yeah. Yeah, it just like
Narcissistic bastard.
I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know, some of it I just kind of chalk up to he is a villain.
True.
But they're his rules, so if he's, since he's the villain, he gets to bend them.
I would like to see an alternate universe to where Jeff doesn't kill him. And he's like, all right, I forgive you. Please call an ambulance. And then, bam, here comes Strom. And Jigsaw's just, oh, don't look behind the curtain. And then you have Hoffman just coming in like, oh, everyone's alive. Hey, I got loose from my trap. Jigsaw's caught. His whole plan fell apart. Oh, I'm fucked, aren't I? Give me that. I just
would be
need to see
amazing.
it.
That would be amazing.
And, you know, we're talking about Saw 3. You're number 4. The first 20 minutes or so has nothing to do with Jeff and Lynn and John.
That was a loose end. That was them
tying up loose ends, which made sense.
Right.
Because at the start of Saw 3, you have Eric Matthews, played by Donnie Wahlberg, escaping the bathroom.
Right.
And then you don't find out what happens to him until later.
Right.
And then you have the stuff with the female detective, Carrie.
Yeah.
Which, again, she doesn't deserve what she gets. This is literally Jigsaw trying to get rid of the police from getting too close.
Exactly.
Because, oh, you spend so much time with the dead, you're not actually living. She's a single woman who likes her job.
Yeah.
Like, she's just trying to do her job and you're going to kill her for it? Like, fuck off. Man, the winged angel trap with Carrie. That's
fucking brutal.
when you see the guts, you know it's getting amped up.
Yeah. But
And it made sense. It made sense for her to die with Amanda because you find out that Amanda is a murderer.
yeah. And that honestly ties up a couple of loose ends from the previous films, like the fact that Adam, that was his name, right?
Yes, Adam.
Yeah. Like the fact that like the key was so hard to get to, because she didn't want it to be that easy.
Well, Jigsaw also knew it was in the bathtub, so
He knew it was in the bathtub, but he didn't know that. She put it on the drain,
well, she didn't like necessarily put it on the drain.
or she attached the drain to.
Well, I don't know. Like all we see is her throw it on his chest. From
Something was making me think that it was like.
maybe it somehow got hooked on there, but
Because the thing is, he knew it was in the bathtub. There was something he must not have known. I keep thinking, I'll have to watch it again, but
it could be a continuity error.
I remember watching it and seeing, oh, so that's why it was so, so difficult.
And she just so nonchalant throws it on his chest. I don't know about
Maybe there wasn't supposed to be water in it. I don't know.
I was asleep underwater. But I can't remember which analysis I watched. But someone describes it as Amanda is an addict and she's no longer using drugs. She is trying to find her high, which is being Jigsaw's apprentice and murdering people. That is her new high.
Yeah.
So
she enjoys that power.
yes, so it makes sense that she's not following Jigsaw's philosophies.
Right.
And the fact that she is just a straight up murderer.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for. We talked about Saw 4 already on your list. And
we did, yeah.
We barely talked about Eric Matthews.
Well, yeah, because we haven't gotten to Saw 2 yet.
Oh yeah, good point. But damn, I know he was like a bad dude, but he didn't deserve 6 months of torture.
Yeah.
Like,
Although his
damn.
death looked cool.
It did look cool. But even in Saw 3, they, this franchise loves to plant seeds for a sequel.
Yeah.
Because Amanda is like...
But it's one of the few franchises that's good at sequel baiting.
I will give it that.
Even the bad ones are good at sequel baiting.
Because Saws 1 through 6, or Saws 2 through 6, I should say, all have implications that Gordon is coming back. Whether, like, in Saw 2, we see Dr. Gordon on the door. In Saw 3, Dr. Gordon was you were Dr. Gordon's patient. I was his patient, then he was mine. Saw 4, I can't remember exactly where it was, but there's hints of Gordon in every single film up to the final chapter.
Yeah.
But in Saw 3, Amanda is confessing to murdering Eric. And Jigsaw says, no, that's what you thought. You left him for dead, but I cleaned up your mess.
Yeah.
Which, if it would have been left as a finale, obviously Kramer, found him dead and you
Yeah.
know, got rid of the body. But we know what happens. He sends Hoffman to,
Yeah.
you know, chain him up and all that. Like, let the guy go at this point. Damn.
Yeah. Well,
But all the stuff with Jeff, just it leaves such a bad taste in my mouth.
I hear you.
That it's hard for me to rank it as high as number 4.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, my number 3 is one that we both find incredibly underrated, and that is Spiral.
The latest one in the
latest
franchise. It is extremely high on my list. I don't get the hate for this.
I don't either.
And the thing is, the only thing they harp on is the killer reveal.
Well, a lot of people think Chris Rock's acting was bad.
I disagree.
I
Did they
do
not
too.
watch the movie?
I do too.
Yes, it has elements of comedy, but that's just what Chris Rock is going to bring to the table.
I think a lot.
But his dramatic moments are so good.
They are. I think a lot of people just are having trouble taking him seriously, which is not his problem. It's yours.
I would agree with that.
And hopefully, if he does more dramatic roles, in retrospect, people realize that he did a great job.
I would love it if he did another Spiral, or even like a trilogy. Where
like we talked about
where
how
he's going
he
after
should sort of
the
become
killer.
Tapped, essentially. He should just
I
sort of
would love
become
that. I
Tapped.
think that would be great. It's everyone harps on the killer reveal was so obvious. Yes, it's obvious. You want to know why it's obvious? Because we are only focusing on these new characters. So obviously the killer's going to be someone that we're going to meet,
Yeah.
and that is going to be pretend to be close to Chris
Right.
Rock.
That's also not even the
Obviously.
biggest twist.
It's not the what do you think's the biggest twist?
Well, two things. First of all, the fact that Chief Banks was really the worst of them all.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the L stands for motherfucker. The fact that he was the one, you know.
Behind Article 8, I think.
Yeah,
it was.
the fact that he was
Letting cops get away with.
It's like he wasn't even just letting them; he was telling them to do it. In some cases.
And his excuse was I think the killer says the streets got cleaner because the cops got dirtier.
Yeah. And then that final moment with the strings.
That's a good
I
shot.
thought that was so chilling.
I had I knew Sam Jackson was gonna die,
Oh yeah.
but I didn't know how. And after Chris Rock,
I also didn't expect him to not die till the end of the movie.
I kind of figured it'd be near the end of the film.
I thought it might be one of those where it's like he sort of dies halfway through and that's an inciting incident.
I thought for sure that he would die near the end. I just didn't know how.
Yeah.
And I was briefly swerved when Chris Rock's character, Banks,
Yeah.
apparently saves him.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, so we're setting up for a sequel where both father and son Banks are going to be going after this guy? Briefly. And then as soon as I saw the thing on the little...
The gears,
Yeah, the gears and the thing on the door.
As soon as the motor starts turning.
Yeah, that's when I knew, okay, something's happening, I just don't know what.
And the idea that it's like he got him killed by dirty cops.
Not
Even necessarily dirty, but
I wouldn't say necessarily dirty cops, just trigger-happy cops.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, talk about social commentary. This movie came out in 2021.
It came out this year, but was shot in 2019.
Exactly. This was all before George Floyd, the riots.
Yeah,
It was before
BLM was around and active because like Trayvon Martin and Alton Sterling and stuff had happened, but like it hadn't had its sort of second wave of popularity or its second wave of outrage.
That's a better way of putting it.
The second, and so it just made it all the more timely.
But for me, that's why all that stuff worked, is because since it was shot in 2019, all that political commentary doesn't feel forced, and it feels it feels correct for the story that's already being told because
Right.
you already have the seeds planted for Dirty
Exactly.
Cops.
It doesn't.
And it feels justifiable for it to happen to Chief
Yeah.
Banks, who allowed all this
Yeah.
stuff to happen in the first place, versus we're sending a political message down your throat.
Right. And it felt sincere. That to me is the big thing, is that it felt
I
sincere.
wouldn't necessarily say sincere as more as organic.
Well, what I mean is, like, it didn't feel like it never felt like a studio note. It never
Okay.
felt like we need to add a message or whatever. It felt like it was the story they wanted to tell.
And I
what I mean.
I agree. And also, as much crap as people want to give this movie, everyone wanted to go see it just to hear Sam Jackson say, "You want to play games, motherfucker?"
Again, that's
I
what,
knew I was sold.
right. Well, because again, you hear the phrase Samuel L. Jackson in a Saw movie.
You know it's coming.
You just immediately think of, you want to play a game, motherfucker? Like, that's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear Samuel L. Jackson in Saw.
And I think this was kind of going back to the basics.
It was.
Because there wasn't a whole lot of traps, but my God, were they effective. And
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
strong, they were graphic, and they were in your
Yeah.
face. But it wasn't every 5 minutes.
Yeah, and they weren't. It didn't look like they were built by a supervillain necessarily. It looked like they were made by someone who knew what they were doing, but they didn't feel like Bond villain traps. They weren't nearly as elaborate as something like the shotgun carousel.
And I also appreciate that the killer in this one even admits that he wants to kill these people. Yes, he wants to give them a chance, but he already knows he's giving them an extreme slim chance, and that's his point.
And it's because, really, that's just because he wants to copy Jigsaw. And you even have the moment where it's like, you think they're gonna try to, recreate the iconic hacksaw thing, but he leaves a bobby pin for him.
Which as soon as I saw how neatly placed that bobby pin
I was like,
oh, okay.
This is almost like he's joking. This is almost like Eli makes him think he's like, no, I'm just kidding. You're not trapped.
Well, and this movie it's so different from the rest of the franchise because we finally have a protagonist who is a legit good guy.
Yeah.
He's not a dirty cop.
He's
a cop who works alone because he ratted out a dirty
He's
cop.
the one good apple. It's
Metro's finest, as the
Exa-
killer says.
Exactly. It's like, because, there's the old, it's a few bad apples. It's like, no, you've got one good apple in this case. And he's doing his best.
And I like that the killer, it almost takes like a Saw 4 rig approach, but actually commits to it.
Yeah.
With, I want you to join me. I want you to team up with me. You're failing all these tests that I'm giving you.
Yeah.
Here's your final test.
Yeah.
And for me, it worked. The traps worked because they were hard.
The fingers, man.
That was hard to watch.
That was I think the best one of the. That would be my platinum punji stick. If you're a Dead Meat fan, that would be my platinum punji sticks winner. Would be the finger trap.
That was brutal to watch, and actually seeing the fingers break
like
off,
pop.
ooh.
Yeah, hear the bones crack.
Ooh,
It was,
man, it makes
the
me
skin
cringe
tear.
thinking
Yeah,
about it.
just like, oh, I bought it in 4K. But
I appreciate how this movie even not necessarily. I mean, yeah, it's set up for a sequel because it is a Saw film, and of course it's going to have its twist.
It
ending
really
to where you want to see more, but you also have characters who can come back.
yeah,
Because there were a couple other detectives who didn't get killed or didn't get put in a trap. The cop in the Fitch from the finger trap, his female detective partner. She just kind of wasn't there for the rest of the movie, so she could come back. The black detective who Chris Rock says is a corrupt piece of shit.
Yeah.
You notice the way the killer looked back at him like, you next?
Yeah.
That's a potential. There's potential for a sequel, and I really want to see it.
I would love to see this become. I wouldn't want a whole franchise, but I would love to see maybe another one or two.
I would say that's why I was saying earlier. I would like to see a trilogy spin-off for Spiral.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated how they brought, or why the movie's even called Spiral. It's not just, because it's a spiral on Billy's cheek, and that way it's still Saw related. The killer,
he
points
but
out,
that's...
he's like, it's the cycle, it's the
Yeah.
spiral, the
Yeah.
evolution of change. But why apply it to an individual when you can apply it to a whole system?
Because in this case, it's the system that's the villain.
Yes, he's targeting the system.
Yeah.
He's targeting the police.
Yeah, it's the system is the... I mean, he's the villain too, but I mean, like, that's the...
In his eyes, the system is the
Right. In real life it is. But,
well, and in this movie as well.
Right. But it's, but yeah, I like the way they did that. And again, it never felt... like you said, it never felt forced. It never felt like this was a corporate, we need to capitalize on tragedy. It felt like this is the story these people wanted to tell. It felt like, it does that make sense?
Yes.
And, again, I would, it was Spiral from the Book of Saw. I would be totally down to see other movies from the Book of Saw. I don't know what they would be, but...
I mean, at this point, the Saw universe is already kind of large.
Right.
You have endless material to work with.
I would be, what's Gordon up to?
What's Daniel up to?
Which one is Daniel?
Eric's son from Saw 2.
Yeah.
He's only in that one and never appears
Yeah.
again in a franchise that brings back a lot of characters.
Do we see Bobby Dagan die?
No, we don't. We just see him writhing in pain and crying.
I was gonna say, what if he becomes a serial killer?
Please! He's going to take the route of, I've been saved. Now I'm an actual cult leader, like Jigsaw.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't want to be a disciple.
Sure, you burned my wife alive, but I will follow you to the gates of hell.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't want to be... Yeah, I want to see one of the, survivors be like, I didn't want to be a disciple. I wanted to be a successor. Like, I would love to see, something like that, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I'm curious if we get... Because there are rumors of a Saw 9 that is unrelated to Spiral that is supposed to happen. Now, I wonder if that will bring in certain characters or certain elements from Spiral. I personally hope not, but if they do, I hope they can do it well.
Yeah.
Because Spiral has given me, a newfound hope for this franchise that has not been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Since Saw 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, considering how bad 7 and 8 were, again, it was...
how bad 5
and
was.
5 was. Again, 6 was almost like, okay, they might be getting back on track.
6 was an anomaly in a series of bad films. 4 is, passable.
Yeah, 4 is like, this is going downhill.
It's going downhill, but you could appreciate the twist at the end of 4 that it brought you back. 5 crapped the bed. 6 was the anomaly. 7 and 8 is just terrible. And then you got Spiral.
Which this is kind of the other this is kind of the next Saw 6 in a sense. It's like, maybe they've got maybe they're getting back on track.
They got something. Let's hope they can do.
I think it's a better movie than 6, but I mean, it's kind of in that same vein of, well, maybe there's something.
Well, I think where I have it on my list will surprise you.
All right.
But that's your number 3.
That is my number 3.
What is your number 2?
My 1 and 2 could easily be a tie.
Can't be a tie.
Exactly, but it's not. I had to really split hairs here. My number 2 is the first one.
Really?
Yes.
It's hard to put a sequel above the original work.
I know it is. It could so easily be a tie. If I was allowed to make it a tie, I would.
But we're not pansies. We have a definitive 1 and 2.
Don't puss out on me now. Just, I mean, it's great. It's a classic. It's I guess at this point the only thing I can say is why it's not one, because like we know why it's good. It started a phenomenon.
Do you want to go ahead and rope your number one into this discussion and kind of point
Sure.
out why?
Sure.
So your number one is obviously
Is
Saw
Saw
2.
2. I think Eric Matthews is a more interesting person than either Adam or Dr. Gordon. I like the fact that we get more John Kramer.
That's definitely a strong point
Their
for Saw
scenes
2.
together are so good.
Again, it's those dramatic scenes
Yeah.
where John is alive that
Right.
are really the strong points of this franchise and a big reason why it took off the way it did.
Yeah. And again, obviously the twist in the first one, you don't really match that. It was
can't.
it set a precedent of, holy shit, what could happen next?
It set the precedent, and then I think Saw 2, with the dramatic scenes with John and Eric, and then giving us another twist ending, launched it.
Yeah, it really legitimized it, in a sense. Obviously, Lee Winnell's acting is so-so. He's a great writer, and is now a great director with Upgrade and The Invisible Man. But his acting is fine. As Adam, Lee Winnell's the co-writer and he plays Adam. But
To me, it almost comes off as more authentic that he's an average actor, because it almost gives it a more real sense, or the fact that it is shot so low budget.
yeah,
That you could almost relate more to it.
there is a sort of sense of, there's a sort of scrappiness to it that's very good. And there are a couple times with the low budget really shows, like the scene with the driving, that's clearly on a soundstage. Danny Glover's a fantastic actor. I love the fact that he's playing a detective again, and by now Danny Glover really is too old for that shit.
Man, I remember watching this movie for the very first time on we watched it on cable television, except you go to the movie channels and you order the movie.
Yeah.
Way back before streaming services, you had to order the movie for like $20-$30.
Yeah.
Oh, but we had ordered the movie.
It was a simpler time. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Do you remember ordering movies?
Yeah.
Oh man, we had ordered it, and I think my parents ordered it because I was so interested in it.
Yeah.
Because I was a big horror guy.
Right.
And I wanted to see it. And I just remember the first time watching it, just feeling such anger and despair when Danny Glover got shot.
Yeah.
And when he dies. I just remember thinking, it can't be it. That can't be how he goes.
Yeah, there was such a, so anyone can die. Again, coming back to Scream 2, it's like, it's the sequel, anyone can die.
Except this
But
wasn't the sequel. This was the first
one.
movie.
Like, it was a ballsy move considering he was one of the two big names in it. No one else in the movie was a big name.
That's right. And Michael Emerson is, I believe that's his name.
Yeah, Michael Emerson.
Yeah, so underappreciated.
Oh yeah,
in this
absolutely.
movie.
He is the voice of the Joker in what I think is the best non-theatrical Batman film. They made an animated version of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. And
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I've
it's
seen
so fucking good. And Peter Weller, RoboCop, is the voice of Batman. So
Wow.
So seek out this movie. They originally released it as 2 parts, and then they released it as one, like, 2-hour, 20-minute movie. But Michael Emerson's Joker is really, really good, and he does this very creepy voice. Like, it's almost...
He's so good at being creepy.
He is. But
when he has Gordon's wife and daughter held captive.
Those are the rules. Just the, like...
Not even that, just the, I'm gonna kill your husband now, Mrs. Gordon.
Yeah.
or the way he calls for the little girl, Diana.
Yo, yeah. I mean, he's a great actor, and obviously so is Tobin Bell. But everyone knows that. People talk about what a great actor he is. But yeah, Michael Emerson doesn't get enough credit.
And he's the false Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Because we believe he's our guy.
Right.
And then we get that beautiful twist ending.
Oh my God. It started a phenomenon. I felt like 2 made it feel like the real world, in a sense. Like, it's not the first one felt fake or anything. It's just,
It was so confined.
Yeah. 2 made it feel like... Yeah, 2 almost gave it a setting. It made it feel like this is... I don't know. It added a backdrop. It added... it gave it somewhere to take place. And it gave it a world around it.
Outside that dirty bathroom.
Exactly. Outside the dirty bathroom / apartment / parking garage. It adds some authenticity to it. And again, Matthews feels like a more layered character than Adam. But Adam was more the audience avatar in the first one. He was more like the blank slate for the audience to view the movie through, because it was really Gordon Kramer and Tapp's story.
I would even, even
And
though
Zap, yeah.
Kramer's barely in the film, because he is the villain.
Yeah.
Him, Gordon, and Tapp are carrying the story. Everyone else is just
and Zep to a degree.
to a degree, but everyone else is just kind of there as pieces.
Right, and whereas Eric Matthews felt like, okay, this is a person. This is a fully fleshed out person we're following.
He's flawed, but he's not.
He's
full blown evil.
Yeah, he's a dick, but he's not a villain.
But he's also not an anti-hero.
Right,
He's complicated.
Yeah, he hasn't fully made the transition to hero or villain yet. He's a flawed blank slate. Well, not even blank slate. He's a because again, he's a fleshed out person, so he's not really a blank slate. But he is.
He's done a lot of bad things as a cop. We learn that he's been a really shitty husband, and that it was never like
He was never.
it was never confirmed, but it was implied that him and Carrie kind of had an affair.
Yeah, he's
It's a big reason for his divorce from his wife,
probably not a very good father.
as we see.
Yeah.
But he loves his son.
Right, it's
which
like he
is
loves his
very
son, but
obvious throughout this
He
movie.
loves his son, but he hasn't raised him properly. Or he hasn't done a good job of raising him, as is evident both in him and his son.
and getting to know him.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the conversations between John and Eric.
They're just so good.
Especially when John is explaining why he's doing what he does.
Yeah.
Those who do not appreciate life do not deserve life. I haven't murdered anyone. The choices they make are up to them. I love Eric's response.
Yeah.
Is, well, holding a loaded gun to their head and asking them to pull the trigger is basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. But it's like, it's so much of a, like, technically, but on the other hand, like, it's so fine line. Lawyers could debate that extensively.
And the traps there's a lot more traps in this one.
And
a lot more. I mean, it's the tagline. There will be blood.
Right.
So there is a lot of blood.
Yeah, obviously the needle trap is iconic. I love the Venus flytrap at the beginning.
Yes.
I love that, or it's like a mini Iron Maiden.
Well, and
I think that
Saw 2 and the sequels onward always started off with someone being in a trap.
There was a cold open,
a
essentially.
cold opening. And I think Saw 2 is the only one that really does it well because it ties in to the rest of the movie. Because we learn that he was a snitch for Eric.
Yeah.
And Jigsaw basically had to get to him to get to Eric.
Right. And it was that perfect level of, this is going to fuck you up, but you can win. With having the key sort of, behind his eye.
There's no way you could win that in 60 seconds. Sorry.
Well, obviously, it's like you're gonna have to immediately go, all right, I'll do it. But yeah, it's not, again, not easy, and it will leave you permanently damaged, physically and emotionally. But technically, you could do it. But yeah, the 60 seconds was a little bit. That was a little extra, but
Give him like 15 minutes for that shit. He's got to emotionally prep for that.
But yeah, I just think that's such a cool trap. The design is cool, and it's simple. It's simple and effective.
Where the sequels get way too overcomplicated and too complex.
Right. Again,
Sorry. And even in Saw 4, when this is so big, how do you bring this in? It's simple, piece by piece. Someone not notice that
I was like,
at any fucking point?
To quote John Mulaney, say more right now. But yeah, it was
It's like Jigsaw's a twisted Billy Mays. But wait, there's more!
But that's what I mean is like...
R.I.P.
But that's what I mean is like, they don't feel like Bond villain traps. That's what I mean by that. They don't feel like these elaborate, Rube Goldberg traps. It's a simple device.
I just, for me, one of the flaws for me for Saw 2 is I can't remember half the characters' names in the house.
Oh, I mean, me neither, but...
And I think that's a problem.
Well, I mean, there's...
The only ones who we are... the only three who have any prominence of we need to know... we know their names is Daniel, Amanda, and Xavier.
Yeah.
The
villain within that... Yeah.
The villain within that game.
Right. Now, I haven't watched it in a while, so that probably contributes to me not remembering everyone's name. But I don't know. I feel like when you've got a bigger cast, I kind of get why. But I don't know. It just, this one felt more polished. And I like the idea of, John Kramer really is in complete control. He is pulling every string. Listen to what he has to say.
All you have to do is sit there and talk.
Yeah.
And then you'll find yourself in a safe place.
He's in a safe... Yeah.
Where's my son? He's in a safe place.
He's in a safe place.
Yes.
His puns.
What a dick.
Here's your key to freedom.
We didn't even talk about that one.
I'll get to it when I get over my
But
list.
yeah, the punny clues that he leaves make me laugh. But you can also tell there's sort of a sick humor to that for him. But
I also feel this is where we get a revisit to this setting in Saw 5 when Hoffman is helping Jigsaw set up everything for this game.
Yeah.
And what bothers me
the
so
house,
much,
yeah.
the house, and what bothers me so much about it is there's one character, her name is Abby.
Yeah.
Jigsaw, they play his tape, and Jigsaw says, "There's 2 antidotes. One is for you for helping me kidnap the others." If you already have like 3 or 4 accomplices at this point, how are you getting these people to kidnap them? How? Why? It hurts my brain.
Because it's a movie.
Movie's got a movie.
But
Fun fact: this has Beverly Mitchell from Seventh Heaven.
It does.
Following in the footsteps of Jessica Biel.
Mm-hmm. But
I remember I told my girlfriend this, who's a huge Seventh Heaven fan.
Does not surprise me.
She was shocked I told her that those two were in two very gruesome films.
I mean, Donnie Wahlberg was a new kid on the block.
I was very impressed by his performance.
I was too. Like, he's a good actor. Honestly, I think he's a more versatile actor than Mark.
Debatable.
I mean, Mark Wahlberg, when he's good, he's really good. But, I don't know.
Lately, he's just playing a guy from Boston.
I mean, I do love Ted, honestly. I do love that movie.
I love The Departed.
Oh, yeah. I think we just found a transformer. But,
So, recap.
But yeah, again, it's so close. It's so close.
It could literally flip on a day.
It really could. But something about 2, I just feel like it did exactly what a sequel should do. It took everything, made it bigger, but never sacrificed what worked. But I don't know. It really stuck the landing for me.
So
Every single one of these movies is flawed. Like, every single one of these movies does have things that are easy to, like,
criticize.
yeah.
Has, you can get that with just about any film.
Right. It's not like with Halloween or Texas Chainsaw. Halloween's the next one we're going to be doing, where, the number one of the franchise is
Just head
is
above
a masterpiece.
everything else.
It is a master. I mean, Halloween and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre are both just masterpieces, whereas all of these are rough around the edges. Some are just more. Some are just way worse than others.
All right, so your number 9 was Final Chapter.
Yeah.
And number 8
Was Saw 5.
Number 7 was Jigsaw. Number 6 was Saw 4. Number 5 was Saw 6. 4 was Saw 3. 3 was Spiral. 2 is the original Saw, and number 1 is Saw 2.
Yes.
All right, let's get into my list.
I would say, obviously, we have the same 9.
Yes, very much. My number 9, Saw 3D, the Final Chapter. I'm just going to tack on a few notes since we both kind of covered it.
Right.
So it's at the bottom of both of our lists.
Yeah.
How the hell does Hoffman get stabbed in the neck by Jill and basically pull that thing out and there's no blood?
I forgot all about that.
When he shoots the cop through the glass, he kills all the cops in the precinct, gets to her, and he does the, being all weirdly sexual. How do I look? And she stabs him in the neck with this thing, and he just pulls this son of a bitch out and just.
About that. What was it? A scalpel or
Like a scalpel or something.
I forgot all about that.
Just
maybe she missed a vein. I don't know.
that was his plot armor working at the time.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Oh, it's bad.
My number 8 is Jigsaw.
I knew that this one made you even madder than it did me.
I can't forgive the crash landing because it starts off with potential and then it just derails. Because yes, at this point, it's been so long since the Final Chapter. For me, honestly, you could find a crappy way to bring Kramer back alive because this franchise would work better with him.
It was
living.
my twin brother, Don Kramer.
It would work
He comes
for
in
me.
he comes in wearing an eye patch.
You killed my evil twin.
I would love that. And, where was Logan throughout the rest of the franchise?
Yeah, that was
And the very not iconic I Speak for the Dead.
Yeah.
And he also
At least in Spiral at least that was something from earlier in that movie.
yes.
Like,
and
I
it's
Speak for
its
the
own
Dead
thing.
Yeah, I Speak for the Dead. It wasn't even yeah, exactly, because Spiral is its own movie. Like, it's not even a sequel.
With
it's a
elements
spin-off.
from Saw.
Yeah, it's a spin-off. It's about a Jigsaw copycat, whereas this is about, technically it's a Jigsaw copycat, but it's also about Jigsaw.
This is the number one disciple in a way.
Yeah, and so the fact that
And also, you're supposed to be the one who never comes from anger and emotion, and it
Yeah.
can't be about revenge. All your bullshit against this cop is straight up revenge for the dude killing your wife. You literally shot and killed the guy
Yeah.
and framed it on the other dude. Like,
Yeah.
come on, this movie.
Yeah.
It's my number 8. The
Yeah.
Crash Landing is trash.
Yeah.
Crash is trash. My number 7 is Saw 5.
Yeah.
There is no
Yeah.
twist.
This was another one where I'm like, man, these two it was tough to pick between these two. I think just
In a bad way. It's
yeah,
hard to pick
exactly.
between these two.
As opposed to like, man, I can't decide. This is more like I can't even decide.
At least with Saw 5, we have already established Strom as a character.
Yeah.
And you want to see him win, even though you know he's not.
Sure.
And I like how they go back to the house from Saw 2.
Oh yeah.
How big is this fucking house?
Yeah. Again, none of these movies are worthless. None of these movies are irredeemable.
Saw Final Chapter is irredeemable.
I told you, I do think that it
Alright,
doesn't
yeah.
save the movie. I'm
doesn't-
just saying it's not like none of these have
Alright, yeah,
anything good
yeah,
about them.
Yeah. I think of Pink Blood. That's all I can think of when I think of that movie. Or at least that's my first thought.
Right.
But how big is this fucking house from Saw 2? Seriously. There's trapdoors, there's the 4 walls that crush Strom.
Yeah.
How big is this fucking house? Where is this
Again,
house?
it's a supervillain lair at this point.
Yeah, basically.
It doesn't feel like it was just a house.
It's the last house on the left. I hated that shit.
Wait, I don't even remember that line.
Saw 2. It's in Saw 2.
I don't remember.
Eric beats the crap out of Jigsaw, and Jigsaw's taking him to the house.
he says
And there's a little nugget where he's like, "Where to now?" And he goes, "It's around this way." And he's just, "Last house on the left." That's thrown in there on purpose.
Oh, of course. I'm like, okay, I actually kind of...
Of course, the last house on the left would be the fucking evil lair of Jigsaw.
I got to admit, that's kind of amusing to me.
In just Saw 5, I didn't enjoy all the stuff with Seth Baxter. I know it's the cold opening, but it's not earned because Jigsaw is not technically a serial killer yet. Or doesn't
Which
have
one
a
does this
moniker.
one open with? Does this one open with the pendulum?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is a good trap, but
It's also, this is a Bond villain trap. This
Yes.
is...
it's just... Also, how did Hoffman get one of those Jigsaw jackets? You notice all the accomplices wear that weird
Yeah.
jacket?
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
Yeah.
Whatever. Saw 5 is my number 7. My number 6 is Saw 6.
Really?
Yes. I just, actually, I need to change that. My number 6 is Saw 3.
Really?
Yes. I don't, all the stuff with Jeff, for me, it's that bad. And while I enjoy all the stuff with John, Lynn, and Amanda, especially with John and Amanda, and the whole, this is your game, Amanda.
Yeah.
He does look right at her.
Yeah.
I want to play a game. You're being tested. Your will is being tested. Your
Yeah.
will to keep someone alive. Can you do that? The whole time looking at her. It's obvious. It's right there. It works.
Yeah.
But Jeff is so terrible. He drags just about the entire movie down. The pig guts, the rack, just extremely unnecessary traps. They're there for the grossness. It does not work for me.
Okay.
It's the big reason why it's at my number 6.
Okay.
My number 5 is Saw 4.
Wait a minute. So where's your Saw 6?
I'll get to it.
Oh, okay.
My number 5 is Saw 4. The twist of it's happening at the same time as Saw 3,
It's a good twist.
it works for
It's a
me.
good
And
twist.
I really enjoyed it. And I do like that they bring Eric Matthews back for one last time to get
Yeah.
crushed by ice blocks.
Which, that was a pretty bitch and kill.
And even the build-up, you think it's the ice is gonna melt and he's gonna hang,
yeah.
and then he looks up for the first time and it's, oh fuck me, I am in deep shit.
Yeah.
And of course, this is when we get Hoffman. The Hoffman reveal has a villain,
Yeah.
and all the. You finally have like someone who's healthy and at the time we believe stable.
Yeah.
Has a true possible successor, and the opening scene of the autopsy happens all the way at the end, where it's just a little like, to any other detective it's obvious, but again, because
Now that we know.
that we know, it's clearly a message for Hoffman.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
also comes back to play in Saw 6. You
Right.
think it's over because I'm dead. You think you're going to walk away untested.
Yeah.
For me, everything about Saw, just about everything for Saw 4 works. I enjoyed.
I used to like Saw 4 a lot less, and it's grown on me.
For me, it's your trap plot and your cop plot are intertwining because it's Rig
Yeah.
who is the cop,
Right.
and the whole don't go through the door at the beginning, and then he has to, essentially the same thing at the end.
Yeah.
For me, it works. It's not perfect, and there are a lot of flaws. The trap with pulling the scalp probably for me is the nastiest in this movie, but that's tolerable compared to the rack and the pig guts.
That's fair.
It's just I really enjoy this movie, and I like the they even changed the theme just a tad bit
They
at the end of Saw 4.
I would say
for,
they
Hoffman.
I would say because they tweak the theme in just about every movie.
They do, and I really like the way it's paced in this one. It left me wanting to see more. And
Yeah.
then I think that's why I have it ranked so high. My number 4 is Saw 6.
Gotcha.
And I didn't like this as much as you did. I had to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
And, Hoffman finally gets a tad bit of comeuppance.
Yeah.
Which is so well deserved at this
yeah.
point. I hate that it comes from Jill, who's just one of the most unlikable characters in the entire franchise. Yes. She always has her mouth open. Do you notice that?
Oh yeah, she kind of always has this.
Do we have a deal?
Yeah.
This weird.
Yeah.
Like, close your mouth.
We are not a codfish. Mary Poppins reference. Boom.
Oh man, Jill is the worst.
Yeah.
And why do they have to drag this character into it? Just leave it alone. I enjoyed her role in Saw 4.
Yeah.
Because she does seem, she's not.
Her inclusion in it seems more organic, for one.
Versus she's the ex-wife who just so happened to be married to a psycho. And the downfall of their relationship. And that's another thing I like about Saw 4 is you see the relationship between him and Jill. You see the hints of him having the superiority complex already there. And him feeling the need to be a hero or anti-hero.
Yeah.
And it just works. And then all of a sudden, Jill is just a flat-out villain by the time Saw 5 comes around with no explanation whatsoever. Number 4, Saw 6, though. A lot of stuff works for me in this movie. Because Easton and crew deserve what they get.
Mm-hmm.
Hoffman deserves what he gets.
Yeah.
I enjoy that Kramer leaves Jill a more simple version of the bear trap.
Yeah.
Or the reverse bear trap.
I wouldn't even say it's more simple. It's just more refined.
More refined. There you go. And I like how Hoffman gets out of it. Because fans are finally going to see a very hated character get his by a trap we all want to see. Nope. You don't get it. You gotta wait one more.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the scenes with Hoffman and Amanda fighting like children.
Oh yeah.
Over approval from John.
Oh yeah. Fighting over who's daddy's favorite.
Mm-hmm. Which is Amanda. In Saw 3, he tells Lynn, Amanda's really the only connection I'll ever have.
Yeah.
Which, you know.
Yeah, Hoffman's basically a coworker. Amanda's a daughter to him. Hoffman is an employee.
Yes, because Amanda actually survived one of the traps, and Hoffman was just kind of coerced into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed all the stuff with Hoffman. This is a Hoffman movie.
It is.
More than it is a John Kramer movie.
Yeah.
And I think the direction he takes it works, because you can see Hoffman trying to shut all the doors of his involvement in this behind him, but it's like every time he shuts a door, two more open.
Yeah.
And you see him spiraling, pun intended, out of control and turning just into a madman.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he slaughters the three police officers when they
Yeah.
discover it's him, and just says, "Who else knows about me?" Because
Yeah.
it's like they already knew and just wanted to flaunt it in his face. Which, why the fuck would you do that?
I wonder if it was like they had suspicions but no proof yet.
And that's what I think it was. But if you have suspicions, you're not bringing him there. Come on. Why are the cops so dumb in this series? They're dumber than the Halloween cops. You know, another thing that I didn't like about Saw 6, and why I was always so torn on how high or how low I was going to place it, is Easton's sister Pam.
Okay.
She's like this blonde journalist reporter who is briefly seen in Saw 5.
Yeah.
But the camera lingers on her just long enough to where, okay, she's probably going to get brought back at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
And she gets brought back for this movie, gets abducted, and I think she's like left a note, a remote, you know, see how it works.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
She literally watches everything else happen. Like, she's apparently the family that Easton has to...
Yeah, that's
his only family.
That's part of the twist, is that, we're
But
here
it's
because of
so-
your father. Yeah.
But it's so pointless. That's the one twist that did not work for me. Why not just have him go through these traps? He's already proven to be a very selfish person. Just, you're gonna learn. And if you would just had, you know, we're here because of your father, and him not mention his family, it would make sense. But
maybe it was because they really needed someone to be just completely horrified and take no joy in seeing him die.
well, that's the thing. The family didn't take any joy in it either. They're like, yes, the son pulled the trigger or pulled the lever.
Yeah.
And had the acid inject him.
Yeah.
But him and the mom are screaming.
Oh,
and
they're
looking
mortified
away.
by it. They're mortified by it. But what I mean is, like, maybe they were thinking, well, we need someone who doesn't want him to die.
That's fair. And, you know, that's literally all she was good for. And she never appears again in the franchise. It's... You know, I've always tossed between having it at my number 4 or having it below 5. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, I would always tour between, like, it's either going to be really high or really low for me.
Interesting.
Like, it's one of I'm just so undecided on it.
Hmm.
Currently, I have it at my number 4. My number 3 is Saw 2.
Okay. I see where you're going.
My number 3 is Saw 2. And a lot of it just has to do with all the characters in the house are very forgettable.
Sure.
Outside of the villain within the house, Daniel and Amanda, no one else really matters.
Sure. Yeah,
they're all cannon fodder.
They're fodder. They're just livestock.
I think Addison is her name, the one who gets her hands caught in the...
I think so.
And
I haven't watched it in a while.
I get that she isn't thinking straight because of the poison at this point.
Yeah.
But my goodness, still. I mean, the antidote already fell out.
Yeah. You know, with a lot of this, with a lot of stuff like this, I tend to just go, you know what? People in real life are idiots. It has to be something egregious for me to get really mad at a character's decision making, which is part of
Well,
why.
the fact that they constantly stick together throughout the majority of it, and it's okay. There are multiple antidotes surrounded throughout, placed sporadically throughout the house, and yet you're all gonna huddle together and search one room at a time. What do you think is gonna happen if you actually got to one of those
Right.
antidotes? Spoiler alert: they don't.
Yeah. Well, and again, that to me is like, it's got to be like the level of Saw 5, where it's like he told you over and over. That's why I am a little bit less. I'm still bothered, but a little bit less bothered by Jeff in Saw 3. I'm still bothered by him, but that's why I'm a little bit less, just like mad about it, because I'm like, well, yeah, he's an idiot.
Well, don't get me wrong. That's really the only downside I have to Saw 2, because everything with Eric and John, we've touched on it. It's so great, and I think I remember watching it with commentary, and the directors are talking to the producers about, I know these scenes are a little too long. I'll try to cut it down, and they're like, no, this is what we want. This is great, and they were right.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Spiral.
The Spiral. Okay. Yeah.
And maybe it's biasness because of how new it is, but
Yeah.
man, this is just such a breath of fresh air.
It came out at exactly the right time.
And it feels real.
It
doesn't
does.
have so much cop cliche dialogue.
Well,
It does.
it does, but at the same time, it feels like it.
It feels
fits.
more authentic.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as forced.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely feels like a Saw movie. Darren Lynn Bousman comes back for the first time since Saw 4.
Yeah.
Or at least in the directing position. And it's just, everything about it works for me.
Yeah.
You care about these characters. They're well established. The traps are sporadically placed throughout the film, so they're actually effective.
Yeah.
Instead of just gore, 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 gore.
Right.
I really want to see more.
Which I like. I like lots of gore, but that doesn't always work for a movie's favor.
And I think it would Spiral.
Yeah.
It works.
In the right kind of movie, just constant gore works. But like with a movie like Spiral, you don't want it to just be this sort of over the top,
Spiral definitely feels more grounded than a
It
lot of
does.
films in this franchise, and
Yeah.
I think it's a big reason why it works for me.
Yeah.
And my number 1 is the original.
First one. Yeah.
It's just classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
They take what they can and they make it work. It's, it started a phenomenon. It's still going today. Just the Jigsaw character, the myth, the mythos, however you
Yeah.
want to put it. It's still going strong. It
Yeah.
still has such a strong fan base, and it all started with that one amazing twist that when I first saw it, I didn't like it. I was shocked.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, it's an old man. How is he doing this? Well, it all gets explained in the sequels.
Right. And it kind of retroactively boosts.
Boost how it
Yeah.
happens. But at first, I'm like, it's just an old man. Like, that's lame. And then I see Saw 2, and it's, okay. I get why he's
This guy's a
doing
criminal
what he's doing.
mastermind.
But, so my list,
Yeah.
my number 9 is Saw, the Final Chapter,
Right. As it should be.
Pink Blood. Number 8 is Jigsaw. It does not speak for the dead.
No.
Number 7 is Saw 5.
Yeah.
Number 6 is Saw 6. How appropriate. 5 is Saw 4.
Wait, I thought you
Wait, my
swapped.
bad. My bad. I swapped it. I forgot to type it out. My number 6 is Saw 3.
Right.
Number 5 is Saw 4. Number 4 is Saw 6. Number 3 is Saw 2. 2 is Spiral. And 1 is Saw.
Yeah.
So, that's gonna be all.
I was gonna say, I think for these two, our lists are not entirely like, and maybe it's just because there's fewer movies, but it's like our lists aren't wildly different.
That's right, because Texas Chainsaw only had 8, and this one had 9.
Yeah.
I imagine our Halloweens will differ.
Yeah.
Because there's 11 films.
Yeah. Our Friday the 13th will probably differ.
I imagine our Nightmare on Elm Streets will differ as well. But the more franchises we cover, or the ones that have more movies, there's definitely going to be a lot of differences.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're not going to be in complete agreement all the time. I'm still pissed that Leatherface isn't your bottom Texas Chainsaw film, but I'll forgive you this time.
Damn it!
It's garbage.
We know.
I'm going to quote R. Lee Ermey from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. That's the ugliest damn thing I ever saw. It is.
So until next time, I'm Will.
I'm Alex.
And until next time, be right back!
Well, as you anticipated, this is not my kind of movie.
Right.
You know, in the sense of, oh yeah, I want to see all of these and all of that sort of thing. I'm glad I saw it.
Yeah.
So that I see what the deal is.
Yeah.
And I get how it is such a thing.
Yeah.
And why they have made so many and there's such a following and all of that. You know, obviously Jigsaw, what he's doing is sick.
Right.
Okay. But it's interesting that Adam and Dr. Gordon here,
Yeah.
Dr. Gordon literally committed
Yeah.
his own well-being, he sawed off his foot to get to his family so he could help them. The family that he
didn't appreciate, according to John Kramer.
Well, I mean, he was fooling around his wife. And,
right.
I mean, he was sweet to his daughter, but he obviously work came first.
He was neglectful. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Adam learned to see a story behind all these people. He's rich guys. He's taking pictures.
Yeah,
of,
just sort of exploiting other people's.
Yeah.
Poor life choices.
Yeah. And he learned to, had some appreciation for that, and stepped in and helped.
Yeah.
Or at least, the relationship between him and Dr. Gordon, is really interesting there.
Yeah.
That he actually, appeared to care about him.
Yeah.
So, and saved his life.
Yeah.
So, again, that's just very interesting that it's so complex. How he's doing, the point he's making is these people need to appreciate who they are, what they have, and what's around them.
Yeah.
And how he's going about that is completely wrong and horrible. I mean, it's horrible.
Right.
But it is interesting that that there's not a moral to the story, but there's some morality that comes into play there.
Yeah.